Assalamu alaikum warahmatullah. In this video, I would like first to explain this concept, cursor. Cursors is uh, a data uh, container, and it can be declared in your SQL blocks to hold information, to store information, to store actually, to be exact, to store a select statement. So it is a temporary virtual location for holding a result of SQL statement. So the definition of a cursor, it is a pointer to a context area. So Oracle creates, for example, context areas for processing these SQL statements that contain all information about from tables, for example. So a cursor holds the retained values from rows, and then later you use the cursor to display those information. We use cursors usually in PL/SQL named blocks and anonymous blocks. We use them in the procedures, we use them in packages, we use them in triggers and so forth. The cursor is declared in the declaration section of a block like this. So first in the declare, so you have here these three: declare, begin and end. In the begin we have the executable part, okay, but in the declare we can declare local variables and we can declare also cursors. In the previous video, in which I explained the syntax of creating functions and procedures, I declared variables only. But now in this example I would like to show you how you can declare a cursor. The cursor is declared with the word cursor. It's a keyword, cursor, capital or small, it doesn't matter. And then the cursor name. So the cursor name, any name that you choose. Okay, so I'm gonna give you example later, but now you have to understand that after cursor you have to specify the name of the cursor so that you can use it in all these location here. You see them in green colors. So cursor name is, and then you select from the table, so that the select statement, this select statement that returned from the this table is going to be stored in the cursor. How do we empty the cursor content? We empty the cursor content in another object called record set. So you have to declare that record set. The record set is declared with the word cursor %row type. So the cursor will hold that means the data type of every single column from the table. Row type is the data type of a row from the table. Usually you have two things, whether just percent type like that, percent type usually work with single columns. Like for example, I have a column called day, so I can use week days, my table dot day percent type. That means I am going to store this variable here. I'm going to declare a variable called vday, and I would like to use the data type of the day column from that table, weekdays. So if I have a table called weekdays and I have a column called day within that table, when you declare something like that, that means whatever type it is, you don't have to go there to the table and fetch and look for the data type. What is the data type of this? Of course, you can go there and you can go there and you can do this, describe weekdays, and then you will say, okay, the day is varchar, and Fahrenheit temperature is a number. But you don't have to if you have declared this variable with percent type. And the other example, you can say variable Fahrenheit temperature weekdays dot Fahrenheit temperature percent type. That is also will hold the data type of the Fahrenheit temperature from this table. But the difference between this one you do it for individual columns. But here in this example, you actually the whole row will be taken care of. The whole row will be taken care of. So every single column from this table name, will be assigned to the record set. So any one of these record sets that is mentioned later in your executable statements will be treated with the data type that has been created in the table name. Okay, so this is how to declare a cursor. Cursor name is select statement, and then you declare a record set. Why we have a record set here? Later we will use the record set here in my executable statements, because in the executable section you have to open the cursor by the name. You have to use open the cursor by the cursor name that you specified here, and then use the symbol loop. This is just a loop because you'd like to start displaying values from the beginning of the table to the end of the table. So you have to use a loop, and then fetch statement. That means it looks for the values that has been stored here in the cursor name and put them into the record set that you declared there in the declaration section. But to be able to exit from the loop, because so that you don't have like an infinite loop, you have to use exit when percent not found. Exit when cursor name percent not found. That means exit the loop when there is no records, when there is no more records to display from the cursor. So all the information stored in the cursor that have been displayed, the last record displayed, then you have to exit after the last record is displayed. So percent not found is a built-in operator that work with the cursor, like cursor percent not found, or cursor percent found, or cursor percent null, or something like that. So you have to use cursor name percent not found to exit the loop. And then here you have your executable statements, and then end the loop before ending your block. But before I do this example in the cursor, let me use just simple loop examples. I have simple loop example to show you how the simple loop works. So here, for example, this is a loop, simple loop. This is a simple program that displays numbers from 1 to 10. Declare a variable called I, its data type is number, starting from 1. This is a variable called max loops, its data type is number, assigned to number 10. Begin. Immediately after begin, loop, start loop, and then assign I equal I plus 1, that increment by 1. Exit what? Exit when I greater than. Here I didn't use a cursor because I don't have a cursor. I used exit when I greater than maximum loops. That means even when I reaches a value that is greater than 10, then it will exit. Basically, you are displaying numbers from 1 to 10, because this one will stop the loop when it reaches 11, and here this one will display the value of I, which has been limiting to the numbers between 1 and 10, and end the loop before you end your program. So this one will display actually numbers from, I would say, 2. Why 2? Because here you incremented this one here. So but if you actually change this one I equal I plus 1 after this one, then you will see that the values are actually starting from 1. So from 1 to 10. So this is a simple loop. You can use for loop as well. This is a simple loop, but you can use for loop. I have another example for a for loop. This example also similar to the previous example, except that I am using for loop. For loop like this. First, declare a variable called I. Its data type is number assigned to 1. Then another variable counter. Its data type is number. Here, the variable called maximum loops. Its data type is number assigned to 10. So I would like to loop from I to maximum loops. But from I to maximum loops, I have to use for statement like for I in 1 dot maximum loops. So in the for loop we can use for variable in number dot and then the last number. So here the first number, then 2 dots, and then here the last number, which is 10. Loop. So this is to start the loop, and then increment the counter by 1 to display the value of I, and then end loop. So this one also displays okay, just let me remove this unnecessary slashes and then try to execute it. So this one will display also numbers from 1 to 10. This is just a simple loop, guys. Here, simple loop, and this one is a for loop. Let me just apply this to my cursor. But in the cursor, I have one more statement, which is fetch and also open. You have to open the cursor and then fetch the cursor name into the record set. I have an example here that I have created for my table name, which is the weekdays table. Let me just copy this example here and try to explain it right here. This example is, let me just start with declare a cursor. This is a cursor name, and then select all from weekdays, my table. So declare cursor. What is the name of the cursor? C underscore temp. I use C underscore temp rather than V underscore temp, because if I use V underscore temp, that means as if I am declaring a variable, which is just like for readability or writability and readability. But C underscore temp, people, once they start reading it, they know, oh, this is a cursor, not a variable, because a cursor holds many statements rather than one variable that holds one value. Okay, is select all from weekdays. What is weekdays? My table name. It have 2 columns, and then this is the record set. The record set is called VR record set or variable set. I call it VR temp. So this is the record that hold or stores the values that has been contained in the cursor. C underscore temp % row type, as I explained earlier, that every single row from that table will be treated here for this cursor. if it is a number, or if it is a date, or if it is varchar2, will be taken care of by that percent row type statement. Begin. Here I'm just displaying these two statement before my loop, because I would like to display the day and then the Fahrenheit temperature and then the centigrade. Okay. Here, open the cursor. So this one, open what? Open the cursor by using the cursor name. Then loop. After loop, fetch statement. Fetch the cursor name, which is ctemp, into what? Into the v record. This v record, vr temp. This one. This is a vr temp. It is the record set that I have declared here so that I can empty the content of this cursor into this record set. So fetch ctemp into vr temp. Then exit when there is no value found in this cursor. And that means you have to exit when all values from the cursor are gone, are displayed, when there is no more values to display. And then display what? Display the vrtemp.day. So the first I would like to display the day of the week. Then vrtemp.Fahrenheit temperature. So I would like to display the Fahrenheit temperature as well. And then at the same time, I would like to display the converted Fahrenheit temperature. And this can be used by this function. Remember the function that we created to convert the Fahrenheit temperature into centigrade. So I can actually pass the record set dot Fahrenheit temperature as an argument to my function. So this is my function that has been created to convert this temperature into centigrade. So this one will display only the centigrade temperature. This one will display the converted one. Then end the loop, and then end my program. So this one, because I have this table that if you remember this table, select all from week days. This table has the day of the week and the Fahrenheit temperature. Okay, I used it in the previous video I use the function to display values from this table to display values as Fahrenheit temperature and then the converted Fahrenheit temperature. But this one, this example, this is an anonymous block that declares a cursor and then loop to display all values from the table using the record set that has been declared here to store the values from that cursor. So here it is. When I execute this block, the block is these two lines, the words and the dashes are displayed by these two statements. I put them outside the loop so that they don't repeat, because I just so like to display them like that as headers for this. Then this vrtemp.day is displaying this Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. vrtemp.Fahrenheit temperature will display this Fahrenheit temperature, and vrtemp Fahrenheit temperature as an argument for the function, they display this converted temperature from here. By the way, this anonymous block is not stored in the data type, but if I would like to store it in the data type, I can create it as a procedure. Like if I say create or replace procedure, call it any name, like converted temp, for example, as, and then remove declare, just leave the cursor like that. So now it is not anonymous block, it is name block with a name, this one, converted temp. So let me execute this statement to create that procedure. So now created a procedure with the name, this name here, converted temperature. Now I can execute it by execute and then use the name like that, just like that, because now you can execute it with this statement, and then it is going to display the values same like this one. Here it is. So now I am executing the procedure to give me this. So now the difference between this and this one it is anonymous block without a name. This one has now a name called converted temp, and then I can execute it using execute statement. These are more examples of PLSQL blocks, named blocks and anonymous blocks. This time I'm using a new concept for database. It's called cursor. So please try to retrieve more information from the net or any other source of information about cursors and how you use them inside your PLSQL blocks.